With all the upsets in college basketball, the rave is storming the court. Is it time for it to be banned? We'll talk about it on the show.
And I am taking on Adam Cohen in the juicer. It's one of the most built-up juicers there is on No Pulp. He's been talking a lot of game before the show. I'm there to put him down.
You always have to talk smack about the juicer, right? I don't have any bubble formula here, but we are talking bubble talk. Which teams are in, which teams are out. You don't even have to wait till Selection Sunday. We've got it for you.
And Joe and I have our plays of the week and final words.
It's No Pulp, and it starts when, Ben?
Right now. Kansas State has been on fire this year.
Missouri is one of the most fraudulent teams in college basketball.
And it was proved
They're not going to fire him. He's the best player in program history.
Side to Lawrence for the win. Yes, he got it.
She is the Shohei Ohtani of college softball. This is a team that's potentially going to be a top 10 team in the country.
How you feeling?
I'm excited to win the juicer.
LSU has captured its very first national championship.
I hope I have just as much energy as Andrew Sullivan did when he went into the juicer a long time ago. What's happening, folks? Joe Puccio, Ben Spector here on No Pulp. We're starting off with some college basketball. I don't know if you saw this over the weekend, but Wake Forest upset Duke, and every time Duke loses on the road, it seems like there is a storming of the court. And Ben, I just want to just get your thoughts right away. Is court storming good?
Well, court storming's okay, Joe. I think it's okay to storm the court. That's what makes college sports fun. But when it comes at the expense of the players and when it comes at the expense of any student, anybody in the building, people get hurt, that's when it becomes a problem. So controlled court storming is okay. This is what's causing the debate. Kyle Filipowski gets hurt as somebody hit him when they storm the court, and look at him. He's leaning towards the scorer's table, but that's the big problem. If that didn't happen, we wouldn't be talking about this right now, but still, I think court storming's okay. It's part of college sports, but what I think needs to be done is there needs to be some meetings, some changes as to how people go about storming the court.
You know, I just think don't even try those meetings. Just ban it right away.
You're done with
it. I once you're injuring players, there is a fine line between players being healthy and players being injured. And if let's wait 10 seconds for these college students to just pile up and then storm the court, just scrap it. Well, there's no sense in it.
Wake Forest wasn't even prepared for a court storming to happen in the first place. There were people lining up with no security. That's the problem, right? If there's security ready for a court storming before every single game, all right, let's understand what the game is right now.
Much.
Unranked team versus top 10 team at home. If the unranked team wins, then the fans are going to storm the court. You have to prepare for those things. Wake Forest didn't do it. That's why we're having this conversation. What makes college basketball fun? When fans storm the court and celebrate an upset victory. I understand the concerns about injuries. I have them as well.
You have injuries?
No, I have concerns.
Oh, okay.
I don't want anybody to get hurt. But what I do want is for people to enjoy the sport. This is a part of it.
I think that Duke head coach John Shire has similar feelings to the both of us.
You know, Flip sprains his ankle. When are we going to ban court storming? Like, when are we going to ban that? Like, how many times does a player have to get into something where they get punched or they get pushed or they get taunted right in their face? And it's a dangerous thing. And I don't want that to take away from the game that Wake played.
Thank you. Ban it. I don't want to be the old man screaming at the clouds here because I do think that court storming's fun. But once you're injuring players, it's over. And there's these conversations, you mentioned it, right? Controlled court storming where, okay, let's bring the security guards out, make sure that the away team's off the floor, and then go for it. That's just way too many hurdles to jump through in a high-pressured moment when college students just want to run on the court and have fun. Just eliminate it all because not only did Kyle Filipowski get hurt, but Caitlin Clark did as well, arguably the best basketball player in college sports right now.
Yeah, but what I could also bring up is when UConn lost to Creighton on Creighton's floor, which we'll talk about later in this show, they were ready for that, right? The Creighton fans stormed the court, and you see the UConn bench, there's a line of security guards there, arm in arm, in front of the UConn bench, just letting them go back to their locker room. I understand the post-game, you want to shake hands, right? There needs to be preparation for it. I think the students should enjoy the victory. A part of that in college sports is running on the court. It makes college basketball exciting. So I get the concerns. I think it's a little bit of extremism to jump to just banning it completely? Because I don't think it's realistic to just ban it.
You don't think it's realistic?
I don't think it's realistic. I think people will still do it.
I think it's less realistic to have all those parameters in place and then have students wait to come on the court because there's all those security guards in place. I think it's actually more realistic to be like, hey, you know what? If there is someone that storms the court, all right, here's a citation. Here's an arrest, perchance. I'm not saying going out and arresting people. But all I'm saying is,
out here?
I'm not Jay Billis. But the thing, you can't have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You can't have 1 foot in the sheets.
I don't think it's 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I just think it's one of those things where there needs to be a conversation now because we've seen this happen so many times. I don't think you're stopping students from storming the court. So what I do think you have to do is say, okay, how do you manage it? Someone who really thinks that this particular court storming was not so great, it was perhaps on purpose, Kyle Filipowski, here's what he had to say.
I mean, I've already heard that there's some videos of getting punched in the back, and so I absolutely feel like it was personal, intentional for sure. Like I said, there's no reason where they see a big guy like me trying to work my way up the court and they can't just work around me. There's no excuse for that.
Well, those people are dumb. And
Yeah.
I'll be honest here, right? There's going to be dumb college students that storm the
We're
court.
two of them.
And perhaps, you don't need to say that. Perhaps some people have had a few too many to drink, right? Perhaps, right? But here's the thing. If you control it by letting the team get off the floor and then they could storm the court, then we don't need to be talking about any of this.
That's the thing, dude. You have to control these students who might not be in the best state of mind. And all right, hey, wait here a second. Okay, yeah, now you're good to go. It's just way too many hurdles to jump through that I don't think there should be all these rules in place for whether it's teams or conferences or what have you to have all these rules. Like, look at here. These are the current rules by conference here. The Big Ten and the ACC, they're like, you know what, we don't really care about it, including the ACC. They got no rules about this. There should be one rule for all college sports that say, hey, you know what, don't do it. And if you do it, you're going to get that SEC level of fine.
Yeah, but Joe, are those rules stopping anybody? That's the thing where you could say ban court storming, but because it's so prevalent in college basketball, teams are still going to do it. Fans are still going to storm the court. You could look at all these fines, and quite frankly, they're quite daunting. $25,000 is no small fee to pay, but nonetheless, fans still do it. So you could say ban court storming all you want, but we have to be realistic here. And the realistic thing is, okay, security guards need to have a conversation and have a plan in place because court storming now, it's a sports crisis. How do you manage it? You have to manage it, and Wake Forest simply did not.
I don't know. I think that there are a lot of coaches in college basketball that fit what I'm saying here, and the fact is, just get this out of the game because it's hurting everybody.
It could get out of the game, but I just don't think it will.
Well, let's see what these coaches have to say.
Whatever you're doing, you need to get the team off first.
There's only one thing that can happen, and that's bad.
I mean, you storm the court, you run in, you bump everybody, stuff like that. This has got to stop.
Because someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to get hurt, and it could be a student, could be one of Nebraska's guys, could be one of our guys, could be someone working the scores bench, could be anybody. But, I don't know why people don't get ahead of it.
I don't like court stormings. I never have. I've been a part of those before as a coach. They just don't feel safe.
But that's the coach that legit just had a court storming on his own floor after Wake Forest took down Duke, putting Wake Forest in bubble talk and potentially boosting the Demon Deacons into the tournament. And he doesn't agree with what his fans did. You saw them, they were hitting Kyle Filipowski. We mentioned that's stupid, that's uncalled for, but that's the kind of stuff that happens when you don't have these controlled environments. So I say just get rid of it.
Well, Matt Painter said get in front of it. And again,
I'm getting in front of it by banning it.
Well, I think you get in front of it, and it's unrealistic to ban it. And what you got to do is you got to set up plans in place before these games even happen, because there needs to be just an inkling of expectation that an upset could happen on a home floor. If there's a top 10 team going up against an unranked team, and the unranked team is hosting that game, security has to be aware before the contest even starts that a court storm can happen.
I was courtside for the Syracuse court storming. Didn't get hurt, so I guess that is a positive. But I don't think it's good.
But you were also protected, right?
I was. There was a security guard behind me.
There you go. So they got in front of it. Congrats to Syracuse. All right, we move on to basketball now, the actual game. UConn and Marquette. UConn beat Marquette by 28, but then Creighton demolished UConn just a few days later. So, what does this say about UConn? How does this make them out in the top team conversation?
I think that UConn right now is number 2 in the country, above Purdue but behind Houston, because Houston. We'll talk about the Cougars in a little bit, but they've been playing really good basketball. This was the trap game of all trap games. You just mentioned.
Say that
you were going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing.
I have it in my notes right
That's
here.
great. Great minds think alike. The thing is that UConn smoked Marquette at home. Now has to go on the road to Creighton. And it's not the easiest travel going from Connecticut to Nebraska, of all places. So I just think that it was a game in which Creighton had all the momentum. Creighton shot 50% from 3. UConn was under 20%. And you can't win every game in college basketball. We haven't had an undefeated champion since the Hoosiers back in the 70s. So I don't really think this is a huge knock on UConn. But the only reason why, Ben, I say they go down is because Houston's been playing so well that you got to put them at number 1.
Yeah, let's get the three-point numbers out. Creighton went 14 for 28 from three-point land. UConn went 3 for 16. And look, like you said, Joe, this was the biggest trap game of all trap games. You demolish Marquette at home, completely dominate them. Marquette's the number 2 team in the Big East, UConn number 1. Creighton number 3. So you beat the number 2 team in the Big East. Then you got to go on the road just a few days later on such a high after beating Marquette by so much to go up against Creighton. And Creighton they want to beat you, right? They're motivated to beat you on their home floor. So
and Creighton's great. You see it, number 15 in the country.
Right, and Creighton's not a bad basketball team, which is why this was such a trap game for UConn, because UConn had to go on the road to face a Creighton team motivated to beat the number 1 team in the country after UConn completely dominated Marquette.
And the thing is, too, UConn then played Villanova at home on Saturday and beat them by 22.
Right.
So there really is no concern for Husky fans out there. But that's just a really tough game to play on a Tuesday after winning on Saturday.
Yeah, I have no concern. And when you get to this point in the season, weird things happen in college basketball. Okay. We're here to dissect them. We're here to break them down. But sometimes you don't need to beat around the bush here. UConn's still a very good basketball team. I'm not concerned.
And that pains me to say, as a guy who grew up in Central New York, loving the orange.
Okay.
UConn is one of the best teams in college.
I'm here for you.
Well, thank you.
We're here for you.
That. Let's shift over to the women's game now. Stanford, they took on Arizona, an unranked Wildcats team. But Arizona won the contest 68-61. Ben, what'd you see in this one?
Well, this was a back and forth game for a large majority of it until the end. Stanford had a 10-point lead early in the fourth quarter. Then Jada Williams just came out hot with about 4 minutes left. When Jada Williams hits 2 threes, both banked in, then Arizona's going to fight. It's just your day, and you just got to tip your cap here. I don't think this is anything against Stanford. Again, when you get to this point in the college basketball season, weird things happen, but it still doesn't take away from the entire season that a team had. Stanford should not be concerned about this game. It was back and forth. When these conference games happen, that's kind of what occurs. And Arizona, with Jada Williams, just hit 2 threes late, and that was the decision.
Yeah, the Pac-12 might be the best conference in women's basketball this season. And you see Stanford, number 3 in the country, 3 total losses, now 4 total losses on the season, and 3 in conference. The real issue for the Cardinal in this game was that Stanford had 18 turnovers. And Arizona cashed in 16 points off of those turnovers. If Stanford doesn't control the ball, or if they do control the ball at the end of the game, we're talking about a completely different story. Maybe Arizona doesn't score 31 points in the final frame. It was just simply a fourth quarter mirage for the Wildcats. They didn't miss from deep.
Yeah, when you don't miss from deep, then you're going to win the battle, especially in the fourth quarter. I still can't get over, I know I mentioned it twice, I still can't get over Jada Williams' performance in the fourth, because to have that confidence to take 1 3, it banks in. Joe, you played basketball growing up. If you bank in a 3, you're not that confident running back on defense.
But I'm asking for the ball again.
Right, you're thinking, I got lucky. Then you bank in it again. That was it. I was watching that. That was it for me. I was like, all right, yep, Arizona won that game. That's it. But if you're a Stanford fan, again, no need to be concerned. You're still a top 5 team in the country. You lost the conference game late in the season. It happens.
And might I say this too, Arizona fans out there, you have to be excited about this, right? Stanford did not play well in the fourth quarter, even though the Cardinal, they played a solid 3 quarters in that ballgame. Just got away from them in the fourth. But what I liked out of Arizona is that they took advantage of it, right? 30-plus points in that final frame, taking advantage of those turnovers and going 4 of 4 from deep in that frame. It's not like Stanford had all these miscues. and then Arizona didn't take advantage of it. No, the Wildcats showed up and they got the win.
So Arizona with a big-time win over Stanford at women's hoops. We moved back to men's hoops. Houston and Baylor in a big-time Big 12 battle. Houston took down Baylor 82-76 in overtime. Is Houston the team to beat now?
In the country?
Yeah.
Absolutely. They're the team to beat everywhere. Big 12, state of Texas, NCAA. They're just the best team in the country. The reason is they have 5 straight wins. 2 of them ranked. Yes, they took down Baylor, but they also took down number 6 Iowa State. The thing with Houston is that you have to play your best basketball now. If you want to be a contending team, you got to play your best basketball. I think UConn's doing it right now. I think Purdue's doing it. And I definitely think Houston's doing it. So they are the team to beat in college basketball. If UConn can string together some wins and get that sour Creighton taste out of their mouth, I like it. But the Big 12 is really solid this year. Baylor has been a really solid team all year long, but they have not lost outside of Quad 1 this year. So that win for Houston on the road was just huge.
Well, it is a huge win for Houston, but I think this just goes back and saying college basketball is at its highest point right now. I can't sit here and pick a number 1 team in the country or a team to beat.
Do you not think it's Houston?
I mean, you talked about how there's so many teams playing their best basketball. I can make the case for Houston. I can make the case for Purdue. I can make the case for UConn.
Right,
I can make the case for Tennessee. I can make the case for North Carolina. I can make the case for they're 7. Okay. I can make the case for all these teams, right? Houston is playing its best basketball
So what's
right
your
now.
number 1 team?
Well, right now it's Houston.
Okay.
Just
That's all I wanted to hear out of you.
just because Purdue lost a few games in the Big Ten, right? And then UConn had that loss to Creighton. I understand we talked about how that's the biggest trap game there ever was, but still a loss is a loss. And Houston comes out with a big win over Baylor that went into overtime. But Houston's the number 1 team now, but the difference between Houston, Purdue, UConn, Tennessee, I'll even include North Carolina to show some ACC love there, it's really not that big. That's the thing, right? And I just don't think that there is a true number 1 team in the country going into the NCAA tournament, going into
But
March.
do you think Houston's the team to beat, though?
Do I think Houston's the team to beat?
Out of all of those teams, are they your number 1? Because you said they're.
I think they
So do
are
you
the
think-
number.
so are they?
I think they're the number 1. But at the same time, the difference
okay.
between Houston, Purdue, Tennessee, it's so small, right? Like, let's say Houston
They're
lost
all
that
one
game.
seeds.
Let's say Houston lost that game to Baylor, just for argument's sake, in a hypothetical. Then I'm going to come on here and I'd say I think Purdue's the team to beat, right?
Right.
It's just the margin for error is so slim that Houston had to win that game, and they did. Credit to them. But the difference between all those teams is so minor that every game at this point in the season, even though there's only 1 week of the regular season left, matters so much. That's what makes conference tournament play so important, because let's say Houston doesn't win the Big 12. Let's say it's Baylor. Then we could have a totally different conversation right now.
And Iowa State could also win the Big 12.
Right.
And so could Kansas State. I think that Baylor is also going to be a high seed in this NCAA tournament.
Yes.
I think they'll either be a 3 or a 4. So I think this win for Houston really showed, like, hey, we can go against some of the top teams in the country on the road. Given it's in the same state, it's not a huge travel, but still a road game. They can come up with that win, cement themselves as the number 1 team in the country, because we just saw UConn lose on the road, yes, in a trap game, but they lost on the road in conference. So that's why I have Houston as my team to beat. We just talked a lot of college basketball. And it's not going to stop when we go to the Juicer with Adam Cohen. This guy is matching up with our sports director here at this very station. You won't want to miss the Juicer coming up after this.
Taking care of a family member can lead to plenty of questions. Fortunately, there's a place to get the answers, for them and for you. Find articles, tips, and tools from experts and others who have been in your place. The Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving.
You quit smoking and thought, that's that. But here's the thing about lung cancer. By the time you see the symptoms, it could be too late. But now, there's a new scan that can detect lung cancer early, when it's more curable. If you smoked, get scanned. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Looking for these? You drive buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail.
then pay me to get your car back.
Your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
The man affectionately known as The Boss has now entered the CitrusTV studio. The sports director, Adam Cohen, is now our guest here on The Juicer, going up against Ben Spector here on No Pulp. Adam, I mean, that's a lot of pressure to be called The Boss, but are you ready? You ready to hop in here?
I'm absolutely ready, Your Honor.
All right. You ready?
I'm ready. Yeah, I'm ready.
You look ready.
I've never been more ready in my
I
life.
will keep in mind, the winner of this juicer does get this orange juice. Okay. Expiration date, March 18th. We've got some time. Cool. But I think the winner of this is going to have to chug.
Yep.
Deal.
Deal?
Yep.
Might have to give me a sip, too. I'll waterfall.
Absolutely.
I'll waterfall.
Vitamin C is good for everybody.
It's great for everybody, especially if there's no sun. We're gonna need some help.
Need it.
All right, folks, let's get into the juicer. I know that we were talking about basketball, and I said we're going to talk basketball. But let's put a pin in that for just a second. What was the best women's lacrosse game from this past week? Because you're a host of this show, Ben. We'll start with you.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Mr. Puccio. You look very great today, by the way. Florida, the number 16 team in the country, took down a top 5 team in Maryland in overtime, 13-12. Look, Maryland, the Terrapins, right? They came off a big overtime win over Syracuse. You think the Terrapins are hot? Wrong. They started this game off really well, right? Had leads of 7-2, 8-3. They were up by 5. I was thinking to myself, all right, Maryland has this game. Then in the second half, the Gators chomped their way back. You like what I did there? Pun fully intended. We've seen a lot of upsets in college lacrosse this year. We've seen Syracuse play close with Northwestern. We've seen a lot of close games as well. Maryland and Syracuse. I know I alluded to that one earlier. That was in overtime. The fact that Florida can upset a team in Maryland this early in the season in overtime to come back from as many as 5 goals, that's the most impressive game from this past week.
That's an American Athletic Conference Florida Gators team, by the way. They don't play in the
Athletic
SEC.
Conference.
That's right.
I like that. I like that. But look, I'm going to go a little bit of a step up here. I like your best game, but I actually think that there's more of a heavyweight sort of title fight lurking around here, and that
you
is.
You can pick the 2 highest ranked teams that played each other.
Well, I mean, it helps. It helps when they make the best game.
Let them give us
it helps when they make the best game. And look, I don't want to sound like a homer here, but number 7 Syracuse versus number 2 Notre Dame was absolutely the best game in women's college lacrosse this past week. Look, Syracuse was down 10-6 at half, and they owned the third and fourth quarters, especially the third quarter when they took a 6-1 goal advantage there. Olivia Adamson had 6 points on 4 goals and 2 assists. Natalie Smith put 4 on the back of the net. Jackie Wolak had 7 points for Notre Dame. It was just a really good all-around game. 2 very strong teams. And look, 2 top 7 teams. This game doesn't just have implications now. It's got implications in the ACC tournament, and it's going to have implications in the NCAA tournament. And that's why I think this is easily the best game of the week.
All right. So Adam says it's because it was the 2 best teams. Ben says it was an upset. Adam, in your game, it felt like Syracuse just cruised to victory in that one. Didn't really feel like a back-and-forth affair while
Did you watch
Florida had to come back. Florida came back. Going up against Maryland, I'm going to have to give this point to Ben. I think that's the best game entertainment-wise from this weekend. You do have a good argument, though. I think we'll both see Syracuse and Maryland Memorial Day weekend. Question number 2, and it's question number 2, not because it's the second question, but it's worth 2 points. We're back to basketball. Who has the most to lose this week in the world of women's basketball? Adam, you go first.
It's the team that's actually playing right now, and that's UCLA, who's currently playing Colorado out west, but that's not a big deal. UCLA has the most to lose because if they lose to Colorado, they drop out down to the 5th seed in the Pac-12 tournament, which means that they have to play an extra game in Las Vegas. An extra game is always tough on the body and a lot to deal with. Not to mention, they also have sort of a tough schedule to deal with at the back of the week. You guys were talking a lot of Arizona in this in that past block that we just watched. The Wildcats are UCLA's last game of the season. Those Wildcats are sneaky. They're lurking around on the bubble right now, and they want to pounce, make their way onto the field. It's a huge game out in Arizona. UCLA is on the road. They go down to both Arizonas this weekend. And look, we all know how going on the road affects teams. It's not easy. UCLA's got a lot to lose this week. Not to mention, remember, in order to lose something, you have to have it in the first place.
That's kind of a bar from here.
Write that one down, folks. Ben, you
the
go.
Pac-12 is a great conference, but I'm going to the ACC. Notre Dame's the team with the most to lose this week. The ACC, a loaded conference. Notre Dame 11-5 in conference play. So let's talk a little ACC tournament time here. With the ACC tournament, there's 3 teams with an 11-5 record. So Notre Dame needs to either split this week or go 2-0. Here are their opponents: number 8 Virginia Tech, or now number 5 Virginia Tech, I should say, and a top 20 team in Louisville. They got to play them back-to-back days. So Notre Dame can go from having a double bye to being a 6th seed and then playing the 3rd seed in the quarterfinal. That's pretty tough if you're Notre Dame. They have to split. This is the biggest week for Notre Dame this season, and the Irish have lost some pretty tough games this year, too, to Syracuse. So Notre Dame has the most to lose this week.
Very good convincing arguments from the both of you. But I think I'm going to side with Adam here. Because I think that the Pac-12 is the best conference in women's college basketball this season. And if UCLA goes all the way down to a 5, oof, that's tough. So if you're doing the math out there, folks, Ben got the first point. Adam got the second one. The last question is worth 3 points. We're not going any bonus question here. This is for all the marbles. Oh, the marbles are here, by the way. This is for all the marbles.
That's a marble.
All the juice, actually.
This guy's got lines. I mean, that's all he's got today.
You juiced up?
Always juiced up.
All right, let's get to the final question here. Which women's basketball bubble team can break into the field this week? So almost like the opposite of what we just had. Ben, you go first.
So Charlie Cream has Texas A&M as a last 4-in team. And Texas A&M is making the NCAA tournament. The Aggies have 2 final games on the schedule. Tennessee, they've beaten Tennessee this year, and Alabama. They haven't played Alabama yet this year. Tennessee, 7-3 in quad 2 games, 2-5 in quad 1. If they split and go 1-1, and based on the history, they beat Tennessee, then Texas A&M on its resume is clear to make the NCAA tournament. They are a good team with 3 players in double figures. They have rebounded 44 basketballs per game. If you rebound the basketball, you are going to win the basketball game. If you rebound more than the other team, that's typically how it goes. Texas A&M handles the glass. They'll handle Tennessee, handle Alabama, do enough damage in the SEC tournament to make the NCAA tournament.
Ben handled that take. What do you got?
I like that. But look, I'm also going to go with another team that Charlie Cream has as a last 4 in, and that's Kansas. And that's a team with momentum. The Jayhawks have won 6 of their last 7 games, including a win over now number 15 ranked Kansas State at home on Saturday. And that's a huge deal. Having momentum to get into the tournament is a really big thing. Look, Kansas just has to take care of UCF, who is currently last in the Big 12, so that's sort of a stat pad game in my eyes. And then they get a big match against the Oklahoma Sooners, who are currently ranked number 1 in the Big 12 and currently ranked number 20 in the NCAA. That win for Kansas doesn't just catapult them into the last 4 in, it puts them into the field with no need to play that extra game in the first 4 or whatever. They get into the field absolutely. I'm taking the Kansas Jayhawks to make the tournament.
This is so hard because I love both of you very much. You know, like you're one of my best friends. You're my boss, so I kind of have to lean towards you. Man,
take your time here.
Well, there's so much on the line here.
We didn't try to make this easy on you.
Orange juice will go to Ben Spector. I think Ben Spector is the best argument there. Texas A&M's got the better record. I think a couple of wins from the Aggies will do it. Oh my goodness. He's not going to. I think we're just going to
Come on, baby.
break.
Let's go. Oh.
All right, let's get out of here. When we come back, we're doing some more bubble talk on No Pulp. Adam, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
Stick around. We'll be right back.
Leaving hot coals improperly extinguished can cause a wildfire.
Hey guys, it's Smokey!
It looks as if Smokey is going to use the drown, stir, drown and feel technique. After the first drown, a good start. Next, another drink. And finally, a close feel.
Is it cool? Okay. Yeah. Hey Smokey, catch! Oh, my bad, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
We're here to talk bubble. Bubble for men's basketball. He's Joe Puccio. I'm Ben Spector. Welcome back to No Pulp. I finished this, by the way.
Oh, in commercial.
In commercial.
Doesn't count.
It's a real artery clogger, and there's a lot of sugar in here.
Give that to me.
Yeah, here you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Get on with the show.
Let's talk bubble. We're going to give you Joe Lunardi's bubble watch right now. All 12 teams in the bubble on Joe Lunardi's ESPN bracketology. Last 4 in, first 4 out, and next 4 out. So you see the 12 teams on your screen there. Seton Hall, Virginia, Providence. Nice little Big East there, Providence, Seton Hall, by the way. Gonzaga, Texas A&M, Villanova, Utah, Colorado, Butler, Morbius, Ole Miss, Kansas State, and Iowa. Well, I'm going to bring you a team that's not on that screen right in front of you. For my team that's going to make the NCAA tournament, Wake Forest. This is a team that's gotten hot recently, split the season series with Virginia and Duke, and Steve Forbes has this group rolling. Hasn't lost a game at home this season. Perfect 15-0, fourth in the ACC. Andrew Carr stretches the floor. Hunter Salas does big things. Steve Forbes has this group rolling right now. That win over Pittsburgh is huge. Could be quad 1 or quad 2. Plus a win over Virginia and Duke. And look, this is an ACC that is really not that strong this year. Maybe only 4 teams make the NCAA tournament. Maybe 5. Wake Forest is one of them.
Well, you know, they say that guys named Joe know ball. Joe Lunardi, Joe Puccio. That's why I'm here to tell you.
Is that what they say?
That's what they do. Okay. Say the Nevada Wolfpack. They are going to the NCAA tournament. They're not on that list whatsoever, but the Mountain West is a very stacked conference this season, and Nevada is in the top 5. Nevada 5-4 in Quad 1. They only have 2 losses outside of Quad 1 play, and they have 2 more Quad 1 opportunities coming up with 3 games left in the season. Right now, Nevada is in a 3-game win streak, and we mentioned this earlier, Ben, but you have to play your best basketball now if you want to be in the NCAA tournament. That's exactly what the Wolfpack are doing with 3 straight wins heading into the month of March. I think the Mountain West is a 4 or potentially even 5 bid league this season. How crazy is that to say?
That is pretty crazy.
But I think that Nevada sneaks into that bunch and gets into the field of 64.
All right, so Wake Forest,
potentially
Nevada,
68 too. Who knows?
Who knows? First 4 in. Nevada, Wake Forest, those are the teams on the bubble that we think make the NCAA tournament. We each got teams that we think are in the bubble that will not make the NCAA tournament. So I'll start here. I'm going to the Big East. I'm going with Providence, and here's why. I think this is more of a testament to my belief in the Big East Conference this year, more so than it is about Providence. And sure, Providence lost Bryce Hopkins, so Devin Carter has to play a lot of basketball and fill out that gap that Hopkins left. But here's the thing, Providence really has 2 strong wins this year. Creighton, Marquette. Outside of that, you look at their schedule, really nothing stands out to you. Again, I think that's a testament to the Big East just not being that good this year.
By UConn and Creighton right there.
Right, exactly. So I don't think Providence with Hopkins out has really showed that it can be a really good basketball team. I don't think they have the wins on their resume to back it up. And because of that, I don't think Providence, a team that's on the bubble, makes the NCAA tournament.
All right, more Big East slander here. I'm sorry. I love the Big East, but I think that Villanova's a fraud. I don't think they're going to make the NCAA tournament this season. You mentioned the resume for Providence. The resume for Villanova is not strong whatsoever. In Quad 1 play this year, the Wildcats are 3-8. 2 top 20 wins this season, UNC and Creighton. Those are the real only positives on the Wildcats' resume. In Quad 3 play this year, you know how bad it is when I have to say in Quad 3 play this year, Villanova is 2-3. What's going on in Philadelphia? They have 3 Quad 1 opportunities coming up with Providence, Seton Hall, and Creighton. I mean, maybe they win one of those, but
I might be Providence.
Right, maybe Providence, but I really don't see Villanova getting in the tournament. And the Wildcats, it's not the Jay Wright years. They're trying to rebuild this program and bring those strong years back. So I just don't think Villanova's year is this year.
It's kind of crazy what college basketball has become, given that we're so anti-Big East. You know, the Big East used to be the team
got UConn
in
Marquette,
March that you'd pick. Right, the team in March that you'd pick to go far. Right, those teams from the Big East, they typically do well in the NCAA tournament. Right, this year just feels like it's completely different.
Big old Big East.
3 Big East teams that we believe in, right? UConn, Marquette, Creighton. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's our bubble teams. 2 teams that we think won't make it, 2 teams that we think will make it. So we'll step aside for a quick moment. But on the other side, we'll break down our plays of the week. We'll give you our final words. We'll talk all things college sports. So don't go anywhere on No Pulp on Citrus TV.
I don't think that many kids in my son's school even do it.
He makes fun of his friend who vapes.
He would never try it.
She's into soccer.
She's on the honor roll.
She's just not the type.
No way.
No way.
No way.
No way, my kid would never vape.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping. Maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
Every time I hear the alarm bell go off in school, I think it's an air raid.
A lot of houses in our neighborhood have been destroyed. I like to close my ears and sing songs whenever the bombs come close.
I'm worried our new neighbors won't like us.
But I know it's all gonna be worth it. I just want my family to be safe. But these are not my words.
These are not my words.
These are not my words.
Ben Spector's empty juice bottle says it right here. We're back on No Pulp here in the Citrus TV studio. I'm Joe Puccio. We'll get to Orange Juice Boy in just a second, but it's time for our plays of the week. And we haven't talked much lacrosse here on the program, actually no lacrosse at all. So let's go to the West. The West Coast, not really a hotbed for lacrosse, but the game that happened at Air Force this weekend was something to watch. Let's roll the tape here. Aiden Tolan, he is a midfielder, blocks the shot like it's hockey. I mean, he goes to the Air Force Academy. I don't think he's scared of the lacrosse ball. Dives in front of the shot, very next possession. The Falcons are on offense. They go down and score the game-winning goal. Aiden Tolan's block was the reason why Air Force picked up its first win of the season. The Falcons are now 1-3 on the year, and that's an incredible stop.
That is incredible. Now, Orange Juice Boy was my nickname in high school, by the way. I want to, show this to America and just say that while I didn't finish it earlier in the show, I finished this bottle of orange juice.
There's still a drop left in there.
It's done. Now
There
it's
it is.
done. Here we go. All right.
Thank you.
My play of the week goes to the Diamonds. Pitchers and catchers report from Major League Baseball, right? College baseball now fully in session. This double play ball was handled to perfection. Watch this. Watch how Virginia handles. I'm not even going to talk. Ready? Just watch.
Oh, we're just watching?
Yeah, we're just watching it. Whoa! Bare hand. Sling it. Oh, yeah. He's out at first. That's 2 outs. 1, 2. Unbelievable double play. Let's watch it again. Backhand just flips it Oh my goodness. That is just spectacular. I love baseball. I'm so ready for baseball season. That was marvelous. Oh yeah, zoom in on the barehanded grab. Oh my, I could watch that all day. I could.
I could too. I love baseball too. I'm more of a baseball than lacrosse guy, so that does make me happy. But it's final word time. And for my final word, let's talk about this new college football playoff format. So we've got 12 teams, 5 automatic bids, and 7 at-large spots. Folks, it's perfect. Here's why. With 4 conference champions, not 5, sorry, Pac-12, receiving automatic bids and the best of 5 conference champ, there's still an incentive to those high-stakes end of regular season games. When Michigan and Ohio State meet, will they both be playoff teams? I mean, one can only assume so. But the loser of that first matchup has an uphill battle and the potential of missing a bye into the quarterfinals. Now, of course, with that rivalry game, they could play in the Big Ten championship game, so there's a lot of moving parts there. But the point is, the end-of-season matchups have not lost their luster. And speaking of those quarterfinal games, that's the first round at neutral sites, meaning that the first round of games are on campus. Imagine you're a 12 seed. You just muscled your way into the playoff. Maybe you lost your last game, but you made it backwards into a 12 seed. Welcome. You don't have to travel to Alabama or Georgia or Texas or any of the top 5 team in the land's stadium. You're going to one of the best atmospheres in college football. And for those home teams, their fans get to watch playoff football on campus. Oh my, it is marvelous. And finally, the question now surrounds Notre Dame. There's a chance that the Irish could be the #1 team in the nation, and they don't receive a bye because they aren't in a conference. Does this force Notre Dame's hand to join the Big Ten? Or would we watch 6-seeded Notre Dame run the table and prove that they'd be the best in the nation, going to Washington or Oregon or anywhere in the country? Folks, I think that a 16-team playoff is coming to us shortly, very much similar to an NFL format, but this 5+7 format makes the regular season, conference championships, which have been important, bowl games, and the national championship must-see TV. I love it.
Joe, I'm with you. I really like the expanded playoff, and I just like more teams competing for a title. All right, for my final word, look, this is probably a sentence that you've heard a lot, but it certainly holds true. Sports bring people together. You think of the big play, you think of the inspiring athlete, and the emotional moments. But this summer, a whole new aspect of the term sports is entering the public sphere. Enter EA College Football 25. I remember as a kid running to the basement, flipping on the Xbox 360, getting NCAA Football 10 ready to go with Michael Crabtree donning the Texas Tech colors on the cover and playing Road to Glory. I even remember making dynasty after dynasty after dynasty. Now, a lot of the college football fan base has similar memories with NCAA Football 14. But either way, for the first time in a decade, the country rallies around a brand new college football video game. 1 week ago, EA dropped the official teaser trailer for the game. All FBS schools are in it, and EA's goal is to make it as realistic as possible. So yes, it's here, coming this summer, and get this, it's in the game.
So Ben, let's talk about this video game quick.
Please.
Because I know that we're both video game guys, but these players are receiving $600 if they want to be in the game. Apparently this was something that EA Sports wanted to do a long time ago in order to continue the NCAA football
Not
franchise.
only are they getting $600 if they're in the game, they also get a free copy of the game. Look,
wow.
That's all I need, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
if I was a college football player and they were like, you just get a free copy of the game if you're in it, I'd be like, where do I sign? Do I sign here? Or do I sign over there? Like, I'm in.
And I think that what this does for college football and for college sports is it professionalizes the game now. I mean, that's what we're getting to here. With the expanded college football playoff, with all these conference realignments, college football is becoming more professional, and by making it in a video game form, you're pretty much solidifying the fact that this is a professional sports league now, and now that the players are making money off of their name, image, and likeness.
Joe, I can't remember a time where I felt like an entire country was waiting for a video game to be released. I mean, the hype for this game online, all over social media, it's real. And Chris Fowler just released a video where he was talking about how he's one of the play-by-play voices for this video game. So EA has had him go through a bunch of different situations. A 71-yard field goal. If you want to punt on second down, right? They're ready, right? And I'm so excited for this game to come out. And I really think that it lives up to the expectations.
So Ben, if you were to create what was it called? Road to Glory?
Yep.
Is that what it is? What would your career guy be?
I'm a running back. I know the common answer is quarterback. I'm a running back. And
You're a running back?
I'm a running back.
Why?
I like the ball in my hands. I like taking
moving
a
your
hand,
joystick
I
up?
like
Is that
taking
all
a
you
hand
like
up,
to do?
juking a few defenders here and there.
This
trucking
guy-
through. I'm a big fan.
This guy wants to be a running back for North. You want to get dogged by Washington, USC, and Oregon, and Michigan. That sounds like fun.
I'm the running back for
You know
the
what?
Northwestern Wildcats, and I will be drafted as it moves on to Madden.
Make me Notre Dame's quarterback.
Wow.
Because I want to go on the road in the college football playoff and run the table as the number one team. All right, folks, that does it for this episode of No Pulp. For our entire producing team, Sean Dempsey and Ben Spector, I'm Joe Puccio signing off. Enjoy this awesome week of basketball, lacrosse, and pre-order that video game.